This is Ivy Unleashed.
A Gold Ivy production.
Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. Today is such a special day because we are graced with the presence of one of our favorite people, Catherine, our coach, who we, both Andrew and I, have worked with. Catherine has been on Ivy Unleashed twice, season 1, season 2, and now season 3. So Catherine, welcome back to Ivy Unleashed.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again. It's such a pleasure. I'm so excited to be here with you. We just keep up leveling together because you know what? The better it gets, the better it gets.
And what's so cool too is like, we've seen firsthand how Catherine has changed our life, but also we've had friends that have hired Catherine and have had completely change their life in ways that are hard to even put in words, but it's like this self-belief that, you know, you deserve a full, abundant life. And that can mean so many things, but I've had friends that have really, their anxiety is gone. They've changed paths in relationships. They've switched careers. And it's just, once you get that belief in yourself, and somehow Catherine gets you to the core of who you are and what you want out of life. And there's just nothing more powerful than that. So thank you for helping our friends out and our lives. You've touched us so much in so many ways.
Oh man, it's just such a pleasure to be in your circle and up leveling all together. I've been so grateful to be in a position to help your friends, and they're amazing people, and it's just great to see them just glow now.
Yes.
Yeah. So for people who, Catherine, you are new to them, they're new to Ivy Unleashed. Let's just give them a little backstory of who you are, what you're doing now. Give the people just a little glimpse of who you are if you are new to them.
Yes. So I'm basically a mind-body healer and transformational coach. I work on several levels with people. I have a specialty for working with people who are tired of feeling tired and worried. And I help them see beyond the limitations that they thought their life was bound by. And I think in general, I bring my paradigm of I don't take no for an answer, and there's always a way of creating a life that you love. So I used to be a nurse practitioner, and I left the medical field in 2017 because I no longer resonated with the medical paradigm. I just felt there was so much more that I wanted to bring to the table to help people get more energy, feel more, feel the zest of life, feel peaceful in their mind, stop worrying so much about all sort of crazy things,
Yes, I know.
that keeps them awake at night, finally find their purpose, step into meaningful careers, harmonize their relationships. So I really work with the mind, the body, the spirit, and it's sort of a challenge to describe at this point because I've been studying so many modalities. I mean, I do neurolinguistic programming, I'm studying Ayurvedic medicine, quantum medicine, energy medicine, emotional mastery when people have trouble with their emotions, or they feel like they can't cope with situations, transition, changes in their life, whether it's transitioning, changing career, changing a relationship, going from married to divorced or single to, engaged, or even transitioning from illness. Because if somebody's been ill for a long time, and Brooke, you might have a direct experience of this, it is a transition to get back to health, because when you've been ill for a long time, that illness is part of your identity, and so because it's been sort of ruling your life. So when you transition into wellness, there are some adjustments in your behaviors and your actions, but also in your beliefs and in your identity, because you literally have to become somebody who's not ill in order to heal. So it's pretty fascinating. The level of the deep work. The deeper I go, it's just amazing realms of energy. I work with spirituality, energy, medicine. I do intuitive readings for people, medical intuition. I connect with people that have passed. some form of mediumship. So it's just so wide that I'm at this point now where in my business, I'm sort of remodeling how I'm doing things in order to really create individualized, personalized path, but bringing the best of all the worlds, because all the modality, ancient knowledge, traditional Chinese medicine, you name it. So I really craft an individual personalized path for people to reach their goals and feel that self-confidence and stop worrying so much and have faith that the universe has your back. And I have a great story about that happened today.
Yes. What happened?
Well, today I wanted to talk about the path of liberation and how any adversity that happens in your life, whether it's illness, divorce, you get laid off your job, your car breaks down, whatever it is, there is always a reason for it. And so today I went to the grocery store just before our episode, and the first time ever in my life that I forgot my wallet. I didn't have my credit cards with me or my debit card, and I didn't have enough cash on me. And so I'm approaching the cashier and I'm thinking, oh, shoot, I left my little wallet in my bicycle pouch because I went on a bicycle, keep my ID and a credit card just in case something happened. And I forgot to put it back in my purse. First time in my life. So I'm like, oh, let's be resourceful here. I've got wallet on my phone. I've got digital credit cards. I got 2 of them. And then the reader wouldn't read them. None of them. And I was like, okay, trying hard, removing the cover of my phone and really trying, to different locations on the reader. It just wouldn't work. And then people obviously are waiting after me, they're waiting in line. Now I'm feeling a little bit embarrassed and like I'm bothering people, which is a feeling I've had so many times in my life. So I'm like, okay, well, I've got my business credit card, so I'm going to try this. I mean, groceries are not a business expense, but I thought I'll just move money around and whatnot. And then the PIN number was wrong. And then if I did it again, it would deactivate my card. And I'm in the US and my card is from Canada. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Just give me a sec. I'll just go to the side here. And I knew my husband was working today. And so I went and sort of spoke with I call them the committee, the wisdom committee. They're sort of guides and angels and my grandfather and grandmothers that have passed and friends. I mean, I like to be in connection with them. I'm very scientific, but also very spiritual. It's just that thing that I've got both sides. And I spoke to the committee and I was like, okay, help me out here. I'm in, it's not the end of the world, but I need some help. And then by the time I phoned my husband and I'm like, can you come and rescue me at the grocery store? He's like, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'll be there. By the time he says that, we hang up. The lady at the cashier, she shouts for me. She says, hey, the people behind you, they paid for you. And I'm like, what? And then 2 guys walk by me and they're like, we got it. Don't worry about it. Merry Christmas. And I'm like, what? By the time I wrapped my head around it, I went to the cashier to get my receipt and sort of walked around people with my grocery cart. By the time I got outside to the parking lot, the 2 guys had already gotten to their truck and they were already driving away. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And earlier today, I had asked for sort of a confirmation that my committee was still active and present. And I was in awe of the gift of adversity, in that moment, random acts of kindness, strangers paying for my groceries. I call my husband back and I say, okay, don't come. It's you can stay at work. It's done. So I thought, wow, okay. I mean, now I'm even more inspired to pay it forward. But it was just a validation that, one, my committee is right there. It's almost like they had a giggle of like, look at that,
That's so sweet. And a time of year. It's so funny. I listen to this radio station that every Friday, that's what they encourage people to do is like, you pay for someone's like coffee behind you. And then like they'll do like 100 in a row where the people get up there. Well, then they're like, well, then I want to pay for the person behind me. And they just keep doing it. And it's such a great thing to have a random act of kindness. Today, my daughter was like, there's people working outside. You should take them some coffee. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then, of course, I got wrapped up in my day and I was like, shoot, tomorrow morning, I gotta go outside with my daughter and take some coffee to these people that are working in snowstorms. But that's so cool.
Totally. And I mean, it's in the field, like not gratitude, but generosity is contagious. Like you said, people pay for them and they're like, well, now I want to pay for the other person. Now I want to pay. This is what should make the news. Mm-hmm. Those random acts of kindness, not the negative stuff that spoils everybody's vibration. The good stuff, the good news. I've been thinking for a while of starting the good news channel.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a someone we follow on Instagram that's like good news something that it's like just
some
always
great news or something.
Yeah, it's like always positive videos where like people are doing just that, which is so cool. But I'm curious because that's so interesting to think of, like angels or your committee or whatever. So when did you kind of start thinking that, or what made you believe that or tap into that?
For the furthest that I remember, when I started to read personal growth books, I think I was 15 years old. I could already sense a presence. I couldn't explain it, but I could already sense that some things were happening, synchronicities and things that are happening serendipitously that you just, these things just don't happen by chance. I think when I got sort of confirmation of that is when I was 17, a very good friend of mine died. He was about my age, and that was sort of my first real encounter with death, and that was pretty difficult. And as soon as he passed, it's like for a month, I could feel as if he was constantly hugging me, like around, like a blanket of energy. Like he was constantly around me. He was a very, very good friend. I mean, at his funeral, I couldn't even offer my sympathies to his mom because I was crying so much. She was comforting me. It was just incredible. And then I had this dream at night where it was a friend from the stable. We used to have parties up in the, up in the attic of the barn where you keep all the hay and the litter, the clean litter for the, the shredded wood for the horses. Anyway, so in my dream, we were having this party, sitting on big hay bales and partying. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, where's Simon? Where is Simon? And I remember this dream vividly, like it was yesterday. And I kid you not, I felt him coming into my left ear, whispering, like my hair was moving like this, whispering. He said, I'm here, Catherine. I'm okay. I'm okay. And then I woke up from the dream and he was no longer sort of blanketing me everywhere I went. And I thought, okay, he's fine. He's okay. And so that experience very early on made me sort of relate to, call it the outer world or the invisible world. And then I became very scientific and I, developed my medical mind, but I always had this polarity between the science and the spirituality. And for a very long time, they were just pulling me on each side. Like it was a dualism. It's either that or that. It's either science or, I don't call it God, but the universe. And it wasn't until I learned to reconcile the both sides of myself that I could really harness the power of both science and spirituality. And in fact, we live in such an exciting era right now where the people like Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, they're really making the bridge between science and spirituality. And it's fun. It's so much fun because science is now explaining what spirituality, ancient traditions have been practicing for, centuries, millennia. I think it's so amazing. And in the PhD that I'm studying at Quantum University, it's a PhD on natural medicine. So we're literally bringing consciousness and quantum physics into health, into wellness. And there's no limit to how we can heal our bodies, heal our minds, attract whatever we want in our life, the prosperity, the relationships, the vitality. So I think it's just expansion from here on. So today I just had a nice wink from the universe that yes, they're still there, and yes, these things work.
I love it. And, the reason I started working with Catherine is because I was doing all of this research on my own, trying to heal my body. And I was doing what all the doctors said, and it wasn't working. And so I would go to different resources and people that had healed their bodies. And it was all about the spirituality and the belief and the, this energy field. And then when we met Catherine, I was like, okay, I'm working with a doctor, but I need someone to help with the mindset of it, because you're right, what you said earlier, it's such a mindset shift. And it wasn't until I allowed both the spirituality and the being and the meditation and also the science, and why can't there be both, and starting to question and surrounding yourself with those people who do believe it, like you, Catherine, was so instrumental for me and for my healing. So when we talk about the quantum physics, right, and believing that you can, and manifestation, can you kind of explain to listeners what that quantum field is? Because I feel like we're going to be talking a lot about it today.
Yes. I'm by no means a quantum physics expert, but here's what I understand so far, just from my studies and my personal interest in the law of attraction. So I think I've said it before, quantum physics speaks to the scientific mind, while law of attraction speaks to a spiritual mind, but they're basically the same thing. With quantum physics, whatever reality that we see around us, the matter that we think is our world, the solid objects, is 0.0001% of reality. 99.9999999% of reality, according to quantum physics, is invisible. So if you take anything, whether it's matter, anything is a wave of possibility. So let's say an electron is a wave of possibility. It can be in different positions at different times. We don't know. With quantum physics, what they've done is it's the measurement problem. They call it the measurement problem. But basically, when you bring an observer into the equation, the waves of possibilities collapse into matter, into one form. So basically, when you're not observing the electron, it behaves like a wave. When you observe it, it behaves like a particle, like matter. So when you're thinking about what you're wanting to attract in your life, and this is sort of going into the law of attraction, what you observe in your mind, in your thoughts, already exists. You've already created it because you're the observer and the subject that being observed at the same time. And what happens is when you observe in your mind, let's say you observe something that you don't like, lack of money. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. Well, the repeated observation of that will collapse the waves of possibilities into lack of money. So the law of attraction says, well, think, see, feel, and hear the thing that you want as if it's already here. So it's a way of being a vibrational match to the thing that you want. And it'll appear into the matter. It'll literally form out of, thin air, and it'll manifest into your life. But you have to believe it before you see it, not the other way around, right? Not I'll believe it when I see it, is I'll see it when I believe it. So it's just fascinating that even with health, I mean, I have examples of that, of my own health journey when I was sick with Lyme disease. I mean, in the worst of the journey, when I couldn't do 5 minutes of stationary bike, and I had to lay down in bed, but I was like, okay, I am not going to observe the limitation of my body right now. I'm not going to stop myself to the current circumstance. So what I would do is I would go to bed, but I would envision, I would see, feel, and hear myself on the edge of a cliff with my hang glider on my back, ready to launch, feeling the wind in my face, feeling the the wing going up and down into the wind, wanting to fly, feeling the strength of my muscles. And so what I did was basically engage the mind to tell to the genes. So this is the science of epigenetics, to tell the genes to go ahead and code, to transcribe the genes into healthy proteins that would replace the sick cells so that I could have healthy cells in order to match the vibration that I was creating in my senses. And I do believe that on top of the herbal protocol that I created, based on research, that all of this mindset is how I really healed in record times from chronic Lyme disease, like something that was there for a long time, but I didn't know it. So it's harnessing the power of the observer. And I know sometimes it's when you're in the middle of, let's say, illness and you got pain and you're tired, it's hard to focus on what you want, but it's truly where the gold is. Because mulling in the pain and the illness will get you nowhere. It'll get you more of that, right? So as you're healing, as you're focusing your healing energies, it is so important to be mindful of where your thoughts are and what they're focused on. Because as you focus your thought on the thing, it'll collapse the quantum field wave of possibility into matter. And this is constantly happening. You think about something, collapses the wave of possibility into matter. You observe what it is. And as you observe what it is, you think more about it, and then it collapses more of the waves of possibility into matter. So think about how empowering this can be if you're thinking about the thing that you want, but how disempowering this can be if you're thinking about the thing you don't want. But most people spend so much time thinking about the things they no longer want in their life, that they keep recreating that, and they keep activating the quantum field unintentionally, recreating the things they no longer want. Does that explain a little bit?
Yes, it does. I think if this is new to someone, it does sound woo-woo-y because this isn't what we're taught as a society. This isn't the norm, right? Mm-hmm. You go to a doctor for stomach issues and they're not going to tell you spend 10 minutes a day meditating, when actually that's really what you need to do to calm your nervous system to help heal. But, I think about manifestation, and something that I feel like comes to mind for a lot of people is money, is manifesting wealth and being rich. And so what would you say to someone who's like, okay, I'm thinking about being rich, but that's not going to bring the money. What do I do? Who's like, yeah, that sounds great, Catherine.
But they're like, I'm in debt. So they're thinking about getting rid of their debt. But would that be a negative thing to think about your debt when you want more money? Like, what would you think about?
Well, it can be a great motivator to get you out of there, because anybody who's in debt is in survival mode, unless people are investing and whatnot. But most people who have debt, they're in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, by definition, you cannot expand, you cannot grow and create, because survival mode means protection, means fear, means closing up, right? It's not about denying the situation that's happening. It's not about putting your head in the sand. It's about having sort of an honest exam of what's there, and to avoid attaching meaning to it. Meaning, if somebody is observing, oh, I'm in debt, that means I'm lazy, or I'm an idiot, or I should be further ahead, blah, blah, blah. They're attaching a certain meaning that's creating an emotion. It can be shame, embarrassment, jealousy, whatever it is. But it's that emotion that creates the vibration of more debt. So I would say to somebody, just have an honest exam of where you are, let's say in your financial health, and then use that as a motivation to say, okay, what do I want instead? Where do I want to focus my energy instead? It's like a 180, where you look at what you no longer want, the adversity, in order to determine, well, what do I want instead? And this is something I do a lot. And you ladies might remember when people are stating their goals, a lot of people are stating, well, I don't want to be worried anymore. I don't want to be in debt. Well, what do you want instead? Right. And so that pivoting is so important, because that instead is what you're plugging into your GPS coordinate, and it becomes your full focus, so that you can become even more resourceful. New, let's say, financial endeavors, new opportunities can open up for you. But to leave the energy of fear and scarcity by attributing so much meaning to what it is, and to instead focus on where you want to go and what's the next step. It can be baby step, next step, next step. Okay, next step. All right, next step. But stay focused on that, because the moment that you're going back to fear and scarcity and debt, it's like you've been, all of this time, you've been cleaning up your vibration, and all of a sudden you're throwing yourself back in the mud. You have to go back in the shower.
Well, and with you, something that you do that's so powerful is not only what do you want instead, but how are you going to feel in that moment? And you go through exercises where you actually feel what you're really wanting to receive, like what that's going to feel like in your body, what are you going to be looking at, smelling. And it's this whole visceral experience, which is, basically what you're saying creates your reality. And so it's just so powerful. But I love, specifics on, instead of thinking, I don't want to be in debt anymore, thinking, would you say like, imagine this amount in your bank account, or like, where would you go from there?
It depends what the person wants, for sure. But something tangible, like a tangible, it can be a money goal. It can be residual income. I have a friend of mine childhood friend who recently completed a program with me, and we actually worked together last year. And so he got himself out of survival and out of debt, and he was able to open a savings account for his son to put, savings for his education. His son is 10 years old, and have a life insurance for his son. And so this year, as we sort of resumed the coaching, it was like in the fall, now he's no longer out of debt. And not only out of debt, he's got his life insurance for his son. And he was like, man, I've got $3,000 for my son's education, and he won't need it until he's, I don't know how old. So he says, I'll just keep going and doing this. And he changed job. He started to work for himself. But that came out of a profound desire to do something different. He was just no longer feeling aligned at his job. It just felt like it was a soul crushing thing. And so we just redefined his goal and redefined it. I think what most people have trouble, and I mean, sometimes I do have trouble, is to really know exactly what they want. We're so good at knowing what we no longer want, but the universe is like, what do you want me to do with that? Tell me what you want.
I had a coaching call with Kara today, and she's like, what are you hoping to get out of this call? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And she goes, what if I don't know didn't exist?
Yes.
Then it made me actually think about, okay, you want something. What is it?
Why is it so hard to identify? Because I even find that way of, like I just feel like, I don't know, I want something, but I can't name it. It's like this feeling, but it's so hard to identify. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yes, totally. There's different methods to identify that. But in the busy sort of lifestyle that we have, in order to connect with what we want, more than just sort of a Christmas shopping list, like what we really want deep inside, it requires us to still ourselves, to still our mind, to go within and ask the question. And for most people, including myself, it's not an easy thing to do, because there's tasks, there's a job, there's the people, but if you really, if you take the time, let's say 10 minutes a day, who can argue with 10 minutes, right? Even 10 minutes, but to sort of sit with yourself and ask yourself, what do I really want? What's meaningful for me? There's sort of a pathway to open up the subconscious mind that comes from the Siddha Veda, sort of Ayurvedic modality that I'm learning. And it's in the book, Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer. There are several marma points. So marma points on the body are literally energetic points that open up a portal to the subconscious mind. And so there's a technique in there to clarify what you want. And it's really the first step. And you can know what you want one day and the next day you don't know that it's still what you want, and that's fine. As long as every single day you ask yourself, like, what would be meaningful today for me? What do I want out of this day, out of this year? We're about to, just transition into the new year. And, but I mean, it's hard to explain verbally what the process of that, but it's in the book, Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer, written by Dr. Clint Rogers. Because the master healer says 95 people don't know what they want. 95% of people don't know what they want. 3%, they know what they want, but they don't have the resources to attain it. 1% know what they want. They have the resources to attain it, but they get exhausted and they can't enjoy it. So that leaves 1% for people who know what they want. They have the resources or created the resources. They're able to enjoy it. And that's the goal of life, right? To enjoy this life experience, to be at your full potential and at your full vitality. And so this process, both coaching and in the book, helps to clarify that, but it really starts with what you want.
And I love that you said taking 10 minutes a day. For some people, they may be like, I'm not getting this book. And that's fine. You do you. But at least take 10 minutes a day. Like, you are so worth it. And like you said, Catherine, this is the perfect time to do it. It's the start of a new year. It's as simple as even 5 minutes. Build up, but take some time for you to gain clarity on what it is you even want. Like, you are the creator of your life. And when you slow down, you realize how much you can be an offense versus defense. I feel like that's something that Andrew and I both learned through working with you is, oh shit, this doesn't have to be our reality. And once you start making these small shifts, like, they're giant leaps. Like, I feel like both of us are completely different in the best way possible. Like, as you're talking, I'm like so content, so chill. Like, you feel that energy. And it's something that we want everyone to feel, which is why you're here. Like, you even said so yourself, that energy around you feel like you've always been able to feel that, or from a young age. So how do people start tapping into that energy? Like, I don't even know like what type of energy maybe, but just to start being aware that there is an energy around us. There is this field that we can play with.
I would say one of the most important thing, and this is something I've been sort of sharing more of lately, because it came to my awareness. It was in my subconscious for a while, but it came to my awareness that one of the most important thing that we as human being get to do, I was going to say have to do, but it's so important to take care of our vibration. I mean, we clean our bodies, we clean our house, we clean our teeth, but we forget to clean our vibration. And I feel like our vibration, our vibe, you can feel when somebody has a good vibe or when somebody is just off, right? But it stems from eating foods that increases your vibration. It doesn't decrease it. And that's something I'm teaching in the Ayurvedic. Some of the foods are energy, they just, they make you lethargic. It's the sattvic, tamasic, and rajasic food. It's fascinating. It's ancient wisdom.
What are some examples that kind of suck your energy?
It might seem obvious once I name them, but
can I guess?
Yeah, rajasic food. Yeah, go ahead, guess.
Sugar.
Yeah.
Alcohol. Even though that's not really food, but I'd say sugar, alcohol.
Alcohol is sugar.
Yeah. What comes to your mind?
Just processed food in general.
Yeah.
And like, I now just doing more reading, just like animals that aren't treated fairly and aren't grass fed and things like that.
I also think like cold food, just from the work I've done, because it takes, your body has to heat it up to create that energy. So it's more work for your body versus the warm foods that are easy to digest.
Totally. You're right on. You're right on. And even leftovers. You can have a sattvic food, which is sattvic it's the lightest energy. It's like in the yogic diet. It's food that leaves you feeling vital and light. Vegetables and
Wait, leftovers are bad?
It's just that as the food ages,
Got
it
it.
becomes more and more majestic.
I say I love leftovers.
Me too, but
They don't love you.
maybe it's just, the one day, but not 2, 3, or
Yeah.
4 day leftover. So sattvic foods, there's tamasic foods that are energizing, like cinnamon, spices, cinnamon, pepper, things that invigorates you. So you have to do that in a certain balance. So I was saying, in order to take care of your vibration, it's all in what you eat, how you obviously exercise your body, how you sleep, but a lot has to do with your thoughts. And there are such things as sattvic, tamasic, and rajasic thoughts. So it's a little bit with the energy equation that I shared on your first episode. I think it was episode number 34.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That some thoughts elevate your vibration, and some thoughts just, they just weaken your vibration. So the question was, how does someone takes care of their vibration? It's a multifactorial thing. And by all means, I'm not perfect. We're not asking people to be perfect, but you strive for excellence in all areas of your life, your physical body, your emotions, and your mind. And I have to say that over the years, I've realized that what people are thinking about can be more toxic than the foods they eat. So if you were to become aware of your thoughts and record your thoughts for a day, and knowing that whomever is having those thoughts is like the CEO of your mind, body, soul business, if you were to record the CEO's thoughts for a day, would you keep that CEO employed at the end of the day? Or would you want to fire that CEO? It requires presence. And, what you were saying, Brooke, to, just take 5 minutes a day to think about what you want. It can be when you're just waking up or if you're under the shower. But the most important thing is to be in the present moment. You're not thinking about your to-do list, the grocery, the kids, the work, the jerk, the this, the that, in the past or in the future. Be in the present moment. And that requires you to be in your senses. So if you're in the shower, feel the water flowing on your skin, the soap, smell the different fragrances of your shampoo, your soap. Or if you're just waking up in bed, just feel the feeling of the bed sheets and how good you feel in your bed. And if you got your sweetie next to you, just have a moment of just connecting and my sweetie's right there. The idea is to bring yourself in the present moment. And what does that is your physical senses, what you see, what you hear, what you feel, what you sense, what you smell in that present moment. That's what meditation is, really. It's you're bringing yourself in the moment. You don't have thoughts that are scattered everywhere. If it helps, you can write down on a piece of paper all the stuff that's in your mind. It'll still be there in 10 minutes when you're done being in a meeting with yourself, but have a meeting with yourself. And in that present moment, ask yourself what you want and just feel the energy, feel the vibration of where your thoughts are at. Sometimes if you feel really tired, let's say it's in the morning, just notice what kind of thoughts you're having. Oh, I'm feeling tired. Oh, another night I didn't sleep well. Oh, I don't feel like going to work, right? All of these things are lowering your vibration. And that's going to be the start of your day. It's going to give the flavor to your day, right? So it's like you're brushing your teeth, brush your vibration. Every day, every moment is really what it is, because we are human beings. We live in our senses from moment to moment. So it's one of the most important things is to take care of our vibration. I was talking with somebody yesterday. There was a big party where we fly here in Florida, and there was about 250 people. And I was just walking around with my plate, and I sensed the energy. I mean, that was a little bit of energy sensory overload for me, because that's a lot of people. But I don't just sit randomly next to anybody. I sense the energy, and I'm like, ooh, there's good energy here. So I sat next to this woman. We had the most amazing conversation, but she was sharing with me how she felt, there was so many good things opening up, and she's moving in with her boyfriend and, moved into Florida from up north and has a new job and loves it and brings meaning into her life. But now she was worried about finding a place to live and worried about if her boyfriend was going to ask her to marry her in the next, I don't know, 5 months or so. And I was like, wow, notice the energy of worry. And what if you were to harness that energy? Because instead of worrying, that you actually put that energy towards creating what you want. And she was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Yes, I'm doing that right now. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy I talked to you. But it's so simple, but it's just noticing where your focus is. And then if it's on something you want, great, keep focusing on that, because you're probably most likely seeing the impact of that in your daily life. If it's focusing on something you no longer want, stop focusing on that. Stop telling that story.
Yeah, I think something powerful to note is that we can't control the thoughts that come in our head, but it's the meaning that we give those thoughts and the power that we can redirect, right? Like if you're thinking, I'm so tired, like thoughts come up in our head all day. And that's something that I struggled with for the longest time, was like, I can't just like change my thoughts, but I can reframe them. And that's like the extra length that you have to go to condition yourself to start believing. And so I just wanted to add that piece of, I feel like a lot of people, there's a misconception that we can control what we think, but really it's almost like what we think after we think. Would you agree?
Yes, totally. And I love that you're making this point. It's like a training, like martial art, meditation, monks. I mean, I'm not saying we should all become monks, but to train your mind. So in the beginning, you become aware as you're having those thoughts. And as you retrain and reframe those thoughts, and it's like, oh, what if there was no I don't know? Like the next time you'll hear I don't know, you'll already be on the path of finding what you do want, right? And so as you retrain your mind, it becomes so much easier to proactively focus in the direction of what you want. I mean, we're human. There's no way to be perfect. We're imperfectly perfect, but it's, as you become even more aware of it, it's easier and easier to train your mind to be as often as possible focused in the direction of what you want to create.
Yeah. But you have to take that time to be still to even hear what's going on in your head.
Yes.
Audit.
I keep thinking though about how people get so stuck. And just recently with Twitch, a dancer that's pretty famous took his own life. I think about people in this time of year, it's so stressful and people feel so low, seasonal depression. I think sometimes it feels so overpowering that like they're like paralyzed. Like it's hard to even move in that direction. Like just do a 180. It's like, wait, I have nothing. I'm stuck. So what do you say to people that feel that like heaviness, like loss of hope? They don't have the willpower to just like do a 180. Like what would you say to them?
Absolutely. And just as a note, the 180, what we're talking about is for people who've already done a lot of internal journey, personal growth work, and it's a little bit of an advanced skill. But for most people who are stuck, it all begins with awareness. Like, in any step, in any process of healing, there's 3 steps. It's awareness, transformation, wholeness. So for people who are stuck, definitely get some help. Don't stay stuck in your muck. But I like to sort of shake the model a little bit. When people are stuck and they feel it's all doom and gloom, it's like, well, is it really true? Like, how can we start just finding examples in your life that things are working out? What is the smallest thing that you're proud of accomplishing or that you can be grateful for? The very smallest victory, because then what that's going to do is start training your brain to look for evidence of things that are working, to look for things to be grateful for, even if it's so small. But it's a better thought than the stuckness thought. Even if it's like, it feels so tiny, it's still better than the stuckness thought.
I like that. I think it's the tiniest thing is so important. Like, what is it? Is it a person? Is it a thing? Is it a moment? Is it a fond memory that you're just grateful that you have from something? I just think right now is just such a heavy time for so many people. And I think about, like, it makes me emotional because we talk about this energy work and we go so deep in ways to heal and really accelerate your life. But there's some people that are, you know, like, this is like too much to even think about elevating their energy. It's like, I can't even think about what I'm grateful for.
Sometimes it's something so simple. Like, I'll tell them, you know, if they can't think about anything, I'll tell them just, you know, you can be grateful for all the functions in your body that you don't have to think about. Your heart is beating, is keeping you alive. It's beating, I don't know how many times a day. And you have sphincters, you know, that your bladder and I mean, you bring it back down to the basics to just sort of appreciate the miracle of life and the miracle of how we're made, you know.
With sphincters. No, they're great. You need them. I love that.
Right?
You said that. That's awesome.
Adding in a little humor.
Humor is great too.
No, I mean, we are walking miracles. That is such a great point to think about what is happening in your body that you don't even have to think about. That's a great place to start. I love that.
Yeah. And when you're sick too, or you're dealing with an illness, like what in your body isn't hurting? You know, shifting that focus, that was super powerful for me, because it's so easy to focus on the pain and what's going wrong. Like, that's how our brain is programmed, and understanding that and knowing that it's going to be a little work. You're going to have to consciously choose to focus on something else. But I think when you're hearing about all of this work and the possibilities, like the shift of this is empowering. Like, there are so many places I can up level and I can go, and this healing journey is never ending. Like, it's not a destination, but it truly is the process. And each step of the process of healing, you learn a little more about yourself. And so I think just being curious with it, and even just the curiosity switch, can offer some hope. Right? You're hearing us right now talk about how we've transformed and we've been in pain and we are doing some deep work, and it works. And so even if you feel like I could never, like, just view us as hope, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, you two are models of possibility. And, you know, like we had talked before, you know, as coaches, all you got to be is the fourth grader to the third grader. But as you keep bringing yourself further, you'll be able to keep bringing your clients further. This is what I'm doing. And this is why I keep, you know, deepening my studies and going into ancient wisdom. I think you touched on a really important point, Brooke, is to get to know yourself on a deeper level, because the deeper you know yourself, the more you can unpack patterns, but the more you can understand others as well and relate better. And there's so many systems of self-knowing, you know, you've got the Enneagrams and the human design, but I wanted to touch a little bit about a system that I in the last 7-8 months that I started to study is the gene keys, and talk about an amazing bridge between science and spirituality. It's basically your higher purpose, your prosperity, and your peaceful, you know, harmonious relationships are basically encoded in your DNA. And so based on the time and place that you were born, you have this profile that it's not really astrology. It's such an intricate system. It's based on the very old text called the I Ching, the Chinese text, which is the Book of Change. It's a living wisdom that unfolds as you become aware of these things. And so, I mean, I'm gonna talk more about the gene keys in an upcoming webinar, because it's just way too much to talk about in just 5 minutes. But the point is, the more you get to know yourself, and in each aspect of your life, your relationships, your health, your work, your prosperity, there are some shadows, there are some gifts, and there are the sort of the highest expression of who you are encoded in your DNA. And as you become aware of these things and the shadows, and you sort of just contemplate on these things, it's like bubbles of champagne. They just come to the surface as you come to know yourself better, of like, oh, that's why I've been struggling with this in my relationships. Oh, that's why I've been attracting people like that. Oh, that's why I've been struggling with money in that context. Oh my gosh, that's why my health has been chaos, right? It's like it's all written in your profile. As you get to know yourself better and you literally let the energy of the shadow transcend into the vibration of the gift and what's called the city, it literally re-encodes your DNA. And you become transformed and you feel different without having to remember to being different. So, if somebody was totally stuck, that might not be where I would start, but I would start with some form of system to get to know themselves better, to get to become aware of the patterns that have been showing up in their life, so that they start having a map of maybe, the next step, the next step, the next step. You might not have the full map. It might just be, okay, come this way. All right, now that way. All right, that way. But at least you stop being stuck.
Yeah, just focusing on that next step. It's something I'm thinking too, when you said, or like having a meeting with yourself, like we're in meetings, majority of us, all day with other people. People are pulling our energy. They want our attention. But like we are with ourselves all day, which why wouldn't we have a meeting with ourselves? Like, why wouldn't that be the first, like most important piece of the day is, all right, how we doing? What's the game plan? Like,
yeah.
As you're saying that, I'm viewing that of like, my morning time, like it's like my morning meeting of like pumping myself up. We got this. What do I need to know? It's so important. You prioritize everything else, every other meetings, every other people. You got to prioritize yourself.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Well, and I think if it's not a practice, I think sometimes we want to say, okay, we'll try it here or there and see how it goes. I think also sometimes it's really creating a diligent practice. Like in November, I was like, every single day of November, I'm going to do this. I'm going to wake up, I'm going to meditate, read my Bible, journal, and read 10 pages. And it was just non-negotiable every morning. And I had to do that to create the habit, because if a kid wakes up or my job gets too busy or I get too tired by the end of the night, it doesn't happen. And so I think sometimes it's like, well, just see if you can fit it in. It's like, no, sometimes
it has to be a must.
Yeah, it's like a non-negotiable that if you keep putting this off, if you keep putting yourself on the back burner, try it a different way. Like make it a non-negotiable for yourself so that you can see how your life can transform in a way that like you actually desire.
And if you don't think you're worth that time, you got to dig into that of why you don't feel worthy, because I feel like that's the first step is why don't you feel worthy of having this time for you so you can give to other people. I'm fascinated about this gene. What's it called again?
Gene keys.
Gene keys. Where does someone start with this? Because I feel like this is going to unlock a lot of things. This is something new and exciting. I know you're going to have a webinar, but if someone wanted to, maybe familiarize themselves with it before your webinar and then attend the webinar, let's talk about that.
Yes, they can totally go on the genekeys.com website. I'm not the creator of this. It's a big system that's been existing for some time. And I'll sort of teach about it on the webinar to make people, to familiarize people, perhaps in a user-friendly way, like quickly, so they can know how to work with this kind of energy. But it's literally teaching you how to embody your highest purpose, but also how to respond to life rather than react to life. And I think that response comes from being able to be present with ourselves. Because when we're in reactive tendency, we're not listening, not to ourselves, not to other people. We're just reacting, right? And it's a very unaware and unconscious way of living. A lot of people live in that way until they wake up, until they become more conscious, until life brings some form of adversity, whether it's an illness, a divorce, job loss, whatever adversity it is that puts the person in the corner of like, okay, now you got to listen. We've tried to put a few things on your path, but you weren't, you weren't listening. And I mean, for me, it was Lyme disease. For you, Brooke, it might have been, your health. issues. For other people, it might have been other things. But at some point, life's put you in the corner and says, okay, are you going to listen now?
Do you feel like you have to get to that point? You know, because I think we talk to these people who have these incredible stories and heart-wrenching things that have happened to them, like brain cancer, and that caused them to then see the light. And so how do people start to, you know, reap these benefits, wake up before hitting rock bottom?
Theoretically, I want to believe that we don't have to get there. And in what I've observed so far up until now, it seems like people have sort of needed a pretty good wake-up call in order to shake the inertia of the daily sort of life. I mean, I've always been interested in personal growth, you know, since my teenage years. So I was already on this path for a long time. But it just seems like when Lyme disease hit, it really put in my face everything that I was living out of alignment with. You know, the job, the relationship, the lifestyle, the medical paradigm, everything. But it unfortunately, it did take that. So I don't know. I have yet to meet somebody, I don't know, maybe some Buddhist monk or something who decided to just invest in the inner life like this, and they didn't have to have some grueling adversity happen to them. But I have yet to meet somebody who's done as deep work as, you know, you two ladies and the guests that you have on your show and myself that didn't go through a major adversity.
I think everyone goes through their own adversity too, right? Like my adversity is different than yours, but that doesn't mean it's better than or worse than or less than. And so how you view, I guess, your own rock bottom, like everyone hits rock bottom at some point, is kind of what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uses that as their wake-up call.
And the difference between people who will leverage that adversity to propel themselves into transformation or people who will stay stuck is the perception of themselves. A lot of people are, and this is said with no judgment, total compassion, but a lot of people are stuck in the victim mentality. Why me? They did this to me. This happened to me. And so when you're stuck in that sort of mentality, it's impossible to see the gift and the lesson that comes from that adversity. It's when you realize, oh, I'm a powerful creator. I'm the creator of my life. In some way, shape, or form, I have attracted this in my life. What's the gift? What's the message? What's in it for me? And then you start asking higher level questions than why me, why me, why me? No, you ask higher level questions, and that'll get you out of the stuckness, because then you'll follow the crumbs, you know, like a rabbit trail. Oh, life will bring you synchronicities, people, circumstances that will put into light the reasons why you've had to go through this adversity. And then it'll become the greatest gift of your life. Like I say, for me, Lyme disease was the greatest gift of my life, you know? And for people who are stuck in Lyme, it might shock them to hear that, especially if they are in more of a victim mentality mode of why I got this and the medical system is letting me down, and they're investing their energy into disempowering thoughts, you know? So, and I know it's shocking, but when they come back on the cause side of the equation and not the effect side where the victim is, but the cause of, I am at cause here, I have an impact on my life, then it's so much more empowering, because you can do anything. You can get unstuck from any stuck situation because you're at cause.
Yeah.
Isn't that great to know that if you know that you've attracted this in your life, then you have already the tools within you. All you need is the key to unlock that tool so that you can transform this adversity into the best gift of your life. And that's what I want to teach about in the Gene Keys.
Oh, I'm just like having this huge feeling of just like gratitude for you in our life, because something I keep thinking about is these poor people that are so sick, and then they don't have a coach or they don't have a therapist to get them out of that spot, where I feel like the second you get a Lyme's diagnosis, or you don't have an answer and you have chronic pain, your doctor should pair you with just like a therapist or a coach instantly. And so I'm so happy that we have Ivy Unleashed to give to people for free so that they can hear this episode and know there's someone that I can go to their webinar and have these more empowering questions I can ask myself. Like, I don't know what that means. What could those questions be? But then they have a gift like you that we've experienced that really can help you shift out of that dark place, you know? And so I'm just so grateful for, you know, that you've had this calling and that you keep learning more and you keep sharing, and then we can share it. It's just amazing.
I'm grateful for the work that you do and all the people that all the hearts that you touch through just being so authentic and real, and the amazing guests that you bring on your show. I mean, it's just been really amazing for me to witness and to just sort of, you know, be a cheerleader on the side. Like, thank you so much.
You are the key. If people need the key to get out of that victim mentality, right? It's the content you consume, the people you reach out to. You have the power, and it starts with that switch of taking ownership and asking yourself better questions is what I'm hearing you say, Catherine, which totally makes sense. And Andrew and I are evidence of that working, thanks to Catherine. So people who want more of you, want to attend your webinar, where can they find you?
We'll put in the show notes the registration for the free webinar masterclass in February. And then they can check on my website, which is www.catherinegagnon.ca. So it's CATHERENEGAGNON.ca. And there's French and English on the website. I'm also on Facebook, Catherine Gagnon Transformational Coach, and Instagram. I think it's Catherine Transformational Coach. But they can reach out to me via email or via the social media.
Yeah, and we'll definitely link all of those because you're going to want access to Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, Catherine, I feel like we can never get enough gold from you. So let's get your 3 gold stars.
First gold star is to ask yourself, what if things could improve? And to constantly ask yourself, what if it could get even better? So you're sort of having appreciation for what's in the moment and calling in once more, some more. Thank you, universe. This or something better. So what if things could improve? And that includes if you're stuck. What if things could improve? And as you open up that portal, they will start improving step by step. The second star is the sacred rendezvous with yourself. 10 minutes a day. Don't care what it is. It might be a walk under the shower, when you wake up in the morning or at night. But spend 10 minutes with yourself, just sort of becoming aware of what's happening in your mind, body, soul business. And then the third goal is, you're such a powerful creator. Just know that what you observe in your thoughts, you will manifest. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take, you will manifest that. So be mindful of what you're observing. And if you need, just change the picture, change the shot of what you want to observe in your physical life, what you want to manifest. It's magical. It took me 12 years to manifest the life that I have right now, living in 2 countries with my soulmate, working remotely, doing the things that I love and helping people. I had that thought in 2008, and I seeded that in 2008 before I was even a nurse practitioner. But one thing led to the next, and one thing led to the next, and the next, and the next, and then boom, 2020 manifested that dream that I thought, 12 years prior on the side of a river somewhere lost in Georgia. So what you observe, you will manifest. Just keep focusing on what you want, not what you don't want.
So good. It's amazing. I think something that really stood out to me that you said that I always come back to is the fact that you can think it means you can create it. Like, it popped in your head for a reason, like the dreams you have, like you wouldn't be thinking about that if it wasn't possible. And so many of us doubt that. Oh, yeah, right. But what if? Like, that's such an empowering question and just a fun way to look at it of, doesn't it feel so much better when you ask yourself that question versus, yeah, right? What if? So I just wanted to call it out. That's awesome.
All right. So for Unleashing Ivy, these are surprise questions for Catherine. My question has to do with, Brooke and I being business partners, and with these gene keys, you do, because I kind of talked to you a little bit about this in one of our coaching calls, that you have like different levels of prosperity that you're kind of destined for. And I happen to be, which I feel like Brooke will be different. I happen to be someone that you said is basically happy with the basics. And so I'm curious how, like, if Brooke and I don't align on our prosperity, I don't know how you even call that, like our levels of prosperity, like what could that mean for our business?
Yes, it's interesting. I would have to see Brooke's profile, hologenetic profile, and in the sphere of Pearl. But I would venture to say that perhaps you two would be complementary. That with the line 1 for you, Andrea, you're meant to live more with the essentials and with more simplicity, meaning not weigh yourself down with a lot of material possessions. It doesn't mean you're not going to have money. You're going to have all the money that you want, but to remain faithful to what keeps your energy high with more simplicity and not burden your environment. And perhaps Brooke might have a total different line that makes you two very compatible. And I would love to see actually in your Venus sequence, your attraction sphere, because the sphere of attraction is how we've attracted all of the relationships in our life, whether it's business, family, personal, intimate relationship. And it's so fascinating to see the combination of energies. It could even inform a little bit of the energy of your business. But I would have to see Brooke's profile for this.
Okay, I'm doing it immediately after this call.
It's so funny though, because it totally aligns with me. Like I want to get rid of shit. Like I just want a very minimalistic life, not married to someone that feels that way. But I want money to have experiences. Like I am the person that would live out of a van. I would completely live out of a van and just travel and then buy plane tickets and just take my family all over. That's what I want. So yeah, I'm so curious to see what yours is.
Well, first of all, I'll say you are 100% attracted to me. No doubt. Second is I feel like if you would have talked to me 5 years ago, I would have agreed. But I do feel like now where I'm at, I realize the simple things, the cleanliness, the clean areas, my house, like I get rid of one thing every day. So I do feel like we're on the same page with that of like, I want money to be financially secure and to be able to travel and see the world. But as far as material things go, it's not necessarily that important.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that would fit me on this sphere, but we are 100% going to figure it out. This is awesome. And everyone listening, you can too. So this is going to be so fun. My question, okay, I want to go back to the money mindset. Because from working with you, Catherine, I have had a lot of abundance show up in my life. I've had a inheritance that I didn't know was coming that took me out of medical debt after working with you. I met my dad again after 10 years after meeting with you. Like, shit was wild. Yeah, and Catherine doesn't know this. I haven't shared it with her yet.
You don't know this?
I haven't had the opportunity to, or I just haven't made, I guess, the time to tell you. But yeah, it was insane. So I clearly believe in this shit is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Andrew and I are writing checks. We are blowing cinnamon off quarters and putting it on our front step. Like we are all about, if people have had luck with this, like why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we do these simple things, right? So I'm curious for you. People who view money as being selfish and wanting these things, right? Even just what Andrew said about me wanting these things, it's like, oh, a little shame. But I feel like it's a good thing.
I wasn't saying you want them. I don't want them.
No, I know. But that was like internally how I viewed things. Oh. And so, people do view money as bad. Money isn't
greedy.
Right. And so for people who want money, but have these self-limiting beliefs, what do you recommend those people do to start shifting their mindset about money?
Yes, that's a great question. And this is something as entrepreneurs that we have to work on our money mindset, because as a coach, you're the product. You're the service and the product. You're not advertising for this thing outside of you. So it's basically you're tied to the identity of the money, right? Not that it should be this way, but a lot of entrepreneurs are sort of stuck in that mindset. Here's my take on this. Money is an amplifier of the inner qualities that you already possess. And if somebody's already generous, they'll have more money, they'll be more generous. If somebody's already greedy, they'll have more money, they'll be greedier. Because money is an amplifier. So in a way, I see this as everybody deserves to get out of survival mode, because when they're in survival mode, they can't contribute their gift. They can't be present with their family, friends. They can't be at their best because they're in survival mode. And by definition, survival shuts down growth. Biologically, that's how it is, right? Our cells don't grow when our body is stressed. In a way, it's sort of our human duty to get ourselves out of survival mode and to amplify the inner qualities that we already have. Because when you're out of survival mode, you don't have to struggle so much to make ends meet. You are able to be more present, more loving, more creative, more innovative, bring something good for the collective into the world. So this is where I would start. And this is where I sort of started with myself when I worked on my money mindset, was that money in the hands of good people with already intrinsic qualities of compassion, of, harmony, peace. With money in their hands, they'll amplify these values for everybody. It's almost like it's similar to taking care of yourself. A lot of people, especially mothers and people who are sort of caring nurturers, they feel selfish if they take care of themselves first. But then we go back to the airplane analogy of you have to put your oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on someone else's face, because if you pass out because you're out of oxygen, you won't be able to help anybody. So giving yourself that self-care, the things that you need to feel good, you'll be a better person to be around. You'll be a more loving mother, a more productive entrepreneur. You'll be just a better version of yourself to offer to the world. So in fact, it's the most generous act that you can do for yourself and for others. Having money is the same thing. It's the most generous act that you can do for yourself to up-level your life, the life of your family, and for other people, around you. So that's how I would start with sort of shifting the mindset of, oh, it's selfish to have money. We've been programmed to think money is the root of all evil. It's just an energy. It'll amplify what's already there.
Yeah. Well, my work with you I was afraid of it. Like we talked about that, where I was like afraid of, if you've never had a lot of it, what's going to happen if I do? Because exactly what you said, you're programmed to think that if you have a lot, you're greedy. It'll make you a bad person. Mm-hmm. And so it was really deconditioning myself working with you. My last question has to do with you and your life, especially now being in school and just managing a lot and coaching people and all the energy that requires, is like, what are your daily non-negotiables? Like, what are you like? If you don't do them, your day is going to be shot. Or like, what are the non-negotiables for you, whether it's like daily, weekly, that you just have to do to be your best self?
Yes. And I have to say that with 2 programs of study in my full-time business, living in 2 countries, having, 2 different houses to take care of, I've had to sort of refocus on my non-negotiables. So it has to do with sleep. So get in bed on time. It means 10, max 10:30 for me, even on Saturdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Yoga every day. I just need it. It's like I feel crooked if I don't do even 5 minutes of yoga. It's like I can't argue with 5 minutes. Maybe weird, but eating on time. So having the right amount of protein in the morning so that my blood sugar is stabilized for the day, and eating early at night so that I have at least 2 more optimally 3 or 4 hours between the last bite that I took and the time I go to bed. I like to go to bed feeling not necessarily hungry, but empty. And so that's when I get my best sleep. And exercising every day. I'm that type of physical person. I need to exercise. So a perfect day for me is sleeping well, eating well, exercising, meditating. I'm in the process of increasing my frequency of meditating and studying. I just love studying. I love reading, studying. I could do it all day. So that's like sort of a perfect day for me. Minimizing interruptions. I have found that if I have meetings scattered throughout the day, in the sort of the gap, I won't be as focused. I won't be as energized. So I've really reworked my schedules to eliminate unnecessary meetings. I've decreased my amount of clients that I've worked with just in this season of being so busy with studies, reorganizing my schedule so that I minimize interruptions or unusable gaps of time.
Love it.
Interesting. Oh, I love hearing about all the things you're learning and studying, and your brain is incredible and you have to take care of it. And in doing so, you're helping so many people. So thank you again for being you. We love you. We are so grateful for you.
Oh, I'm so grateful for the two of you. I love you two so much. It's just amazing to do life together and to do this kind of work together. It's like I don't feel alone, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're such a beautiful person, and we send Catherine random videos of us dancing. Like anytime we weave in like Catherine tricks, we send her a little video, and we just show her like how much abundance you've helped us bring into our lives. So, like Brooke said, we're so grateful for you.
I'm so proud of you too, and just remember, the better it gets, the better it gets. It just keeps getting better.
Yes, and we've seen that and experienced it. And for those of you listening, you are right here with us. You are a part of our fam. We are so grateful that you are listening, that you tune in and share this gold with us. We couldn't do it without you. So Catherine, we hate to see you go, but we love your gold. So will you share your piece of gold with us?
The piece of gold is, I think I said it on the first episode, but don't settle for less. Don't take no for an answer. There's always a way. There's always a way, and you're meant to live a life that you love, no matter what it means for you, but define that. Don't settle for less. Don't compromise.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold.